Hello, everyone. Welcome to Psych 226 Educational Psychology Online Orientation Video. My name is Dr. Melissa Luis, and I will be your professor for this semester. Now, this orientation video is for students that are taking Psych 226 during either the fall or spring. So, although I'm going to be showing you things that look familiar for fall students, this is still a pertinent video, orientation video, for those of you who are taking the course in the spring. So let's go over what is going to happen during this orientation video. Now, the orientation module, obviously that's where you are right now, is mandatory to complete before you can actually start completing the other course modules. So that's why it's really important for you to watch this entire video and to have the syllabus in front of you, just so that you're very familiar with how this online course is going to work. So in this orientation, we are going to talk about the learning objectives for this course and actually what this course is all about. I'm going to go over the materials that you're going to need for the course. I'm then going to show you the course layout and the schedule for the course and how it pertains to the syllabus. I'm then going to go over each of the assignments and how to complete those and the resources that are available to help you with that. And then the last thing I'm going to talk about is time management. And you probably at this point have already received an announcement about time management. So I am going to go over some of the important features of that particular announcement. Okay, so I'm going to get out of this PowerPoint right now, and I want to actually go into the syllabus. And we're going to first start with the learning outcomes for this course and what this course is all about. So this is educational psychology, and this course is required of students that are in the education transfer associates in science degree. This course is not required if you are a psychology student and is not required for any other major at MCC. The reason I want to stress that is that oftentimes students that are not in the education program are looking for free electives, which most of the degrees at MCC have a certain requirement for free electives. So my suggestion is, if you are not thinking about going into education or an education related career, to really look deeply at the syllabus and the course expectations to determine if this is a good fit for you. This course, as you can see in front of you with the 4 learning objectives, is going to focus in on education, particularly number 2 here, creating and implementing a lesson plan. So again, if this is a free elective for you, you're not really maybe interested in education, you're not interested in teaching, you're not interested in presenting, then it's really a great idea to really look more deeply if this is the right fit. Now, for those of you who are in education or are thinking of education-related careers, such as school psychology, educational psychology, guidance counseling, or social work, then this is definitely a good course for you. So in front of you are the 4 learning objectives. So the way I like to describe this course is that it is a theories course. It is going to give you the theoretical foundation for future methods courses. So for you then to go on into a teacher prep program or into a graduate program for school psychology, guidance counselor, or social work, you're going to eventually be learning practical or methods, basically skills that you're going to be delivering during your career. In order to understand where those skills come from, you need to understand the theories. And that's what the focus of this course is going to be about, theories. So as you can see in learning objective number 1, we're going to be discussing all types of theories that are related to education. We're going to be looking at research, and you're going to be researching an educational psychology topic that's going to help you to form a group lesson plan and eventually a teaching demonstration. You're going to be learning about best practices in education, and then again also about various research methods that we use to obtain the theories that you're going to be learning about in this course. Now, this is the major course content right here. So these are the major areas and concepts and things that we're going to be covering in this course. So again, take a look at this. Again, hopefully the syllabus is in front of you so you can see this, but definitely look it over just so that you familiarize yourselves with the key content that we're going to be covering. Now, this is a 200 level psychology course. Actually, in other programs and other four-year institutes, sometimes EdPsych is a 300 level course. When I personally took this when I was an undergrad, I actually took it my junior year as a 300 level course. So definitely this course is very rigorous. There is going to be a lot of work in this course. This is not an introductory course. This is not just a few tests and maybe a paper. There is a lot of work, and that is simply because it's a theories course that is required for people that want to go into education or education related fields. So this is not just a simple, here's your information and go on your merry way. So that's why, again, you really want to take a step back and decide if you can handle the rigor of this course. Again, if you are in the education program, this course is absolutely required, but you want to be a teacher anyway, so you're not going to be afraid of rigor. All right, so let's talk about the course materials. So I'm going to show you them here, and then I'm actually going to physically go into our Canvas page and walk us through different aspects of the materials, and then that'll lead us to the next part of the orientation video. All right, so let's talk about the textbook. So I use Anita Woolfolk, Educational Psychology. And so here's the thing that I want to stress is that we're not going to use any of those supplemental publisher created materials. So we're not using Revel, which is their, their learning format for Pearson. So we're not going to be using Revel's tests or quizzes or PowerPoint slides or anything like that. I create all my own stuff. Okay. But you might want to buy the e-text via Revel, depending on, how you want to get it. Being an online class, you might not be able to go physically to a bookstore to buy the book. So you might want to consider getting the e-text. But if you're like me, like your paper pencil kind of textbook in front of you, this is the name of the text. It is available at the bookstore. Now, if you do decide to do the e-text, there's going to have to be an access code, which will show up in an announcement in our Canvas shell. All right, so other than the textbook, I don't use anything else from Revel. But if you do get the e-text and you do use Revel, it does come with some, additional quizzes and things like that. So feel free to use those as a study tool, but they're not required for this course. All right, everything else besides the textbook will be in Canvas for you. All right, so everything else, my PowerPoints, the articles, all your resources are going to be available to you through Canvas. All right, now, obviously, this is an online class, so you have to have access to working technology, and that does not mean your smartphone. Please do not complete things on your smartphone. If you are only going to be able to use your smartphone, then you need to email me because we do have access to some laptops that can be loaned during the semester, and you definitely will need one because taking a quiz or a test on a smart device is not going to work. Trying to upload a paper on a smartphone is not going to work. So you need to have access to a working computer or laptop. We also are going to use Microsoft Office in this course, and we will be using Zoom as well. Now, again, this is an online class. We're not using Zoom for weekly meetings because this is not a remote learning class. It is a strictly online class. But you will be using Zoom or FaceTime or some other type of recording device when you do your teaching demo. So I will walk you through that later when I talk about assignments. Okay, so those are our course materials and things that are important. All right, so here are the important policies. These are also in Canvas, so you're going to want to go through and look at these, particularly in an online class, academic integrity. So everything is pretty much open book. Quizzes are open book in this class, but the final exam is not. So definitely you're going to want to look through and read this. Also, there will be a paper in this class and a research worksheet, so plagiarism is something we want to avoid. Now, with late work, missed exam policy, that sort of thing, because this is an online class and there is plenty of time to get ahead, unless there is a really, truly extenuating circumstance that prevents you from doing something, which you would need to let me know as soon as possible, you are responsible for completing things on time. So if you do struggle with that, because this is a 200 level rigorous course, you will need to decide if you can do that or not. I can't have students emailing me after dates and saying, oh, I need another day, or I didn't know about it, or whatever. This is a professional level class, so we will be professional. If it's not time or a good time for you to be professional, then choose to take the course during a different semester. All right, so participation, I'm going to go over that more when we talk about our assignments. There are ways that we participate in this class, even though it is an online class. Now, the class, most of the time you probably will be learning on your own, as you can see here, building your own knowledge. But what's great about this class and what's important is if you want to be a future educator, is learning together. So we will be completing discussion boards in this class. You will be completing a group lesson plan, and you will be using that lesson plan to guide the teaching demo that you do with a group. So you will need to work with others in this class. So it's really important to understand how, that this class is built on that constructivism, that collaboration, and how we construct knowledge together. Okay, so I went over those important things. And so what I want to do now before I talk about the assignments is I want to talk about the course layout and the schedule. So I'm going to skip over the assignments for a second, and then I'm going to talk about how the course is laid out. So again, I'm in the syllabus. Here's your grading information, so you can see the various assignments and tasks, and you can see how much they're worth. So that's important. But let's now talk about the course layout. So what's the schedule like? How is this going to work? So I'm going to start by showing it to you here in the syllabus, and then I'm going to switch and show it what it looks like in Canvas. All right, so in this class, it is pretty basic in terms of when things are due. All right, so first, quizzes, which I'll go over in more detail when I talk about assignments. All quizzes, they're not due until the end of the session. All right, so that's important. I will again go over that in a minute. All of the rest of the assignments except quizzes. So I'm going to say that again. All of the rest of the assignments except quizzes are going to be due on Thursdays by 11:59 p.m. Okay, so all of the rest of the assignments are going to be due on Thursdays at 11:59 p.m. So the schedule, as you can see here, is divided up by weeks, okay? And I put the date over here. These are all the Monday dates, but it's like the week of 9/7, okay? The week of 9/14. Now, if you're taking this course in the spring, or you're taking this course, at a different time in the fall, you're going to see that these dates are a little different. But in terms of how the course is laid out, it is the same thing. The week and then the date is right next to it, okay? So what you're going to do is you're going to look at the week that you're working on, okay? Here are the things that you're going to do to prepare yourself for those different content that we're covering during the week. And then here to the right are your assignments. So all assignments are due, again, by 11:59 p.m. on Thursdays, okay? So let's take an example. Let's look at week number 4. All right, so week number 4 is right here. You've got your date of when week number 4 is. Again, if you're taking this during the spring or a different time in the fall, this will be a different date, but it's still week 4. All right, so for week 4, you would be reading chapter 14. You would be watching the narrated lesson, which I'll go over in a few minutes. You're also going to start preparing yourself for an assignment that's due the following week. As you can see during week 5, we have something due here called a research worksheet. So you would start to prepare and use those resources to help you with that. And here's the page, another resource to help you with that assignment. So these are the things that you would be working on to prepare you to start to complete the assignments, which are right here. So for week 4, you would be completing a case to consider for chapter 14. Here is your discussion board, Mr. Dean, and then there's a quiz. Now, quizzes are not due until the end of the session, but they still will be listed here to remind you about them. Again, I'll go over quizzes in more detail when I talk about assignments. So each week is laid out for you right here. Very clear about what you should be working on. So what I want to do now is I want to show you how this looks in Canvas, okay? So here is our course page, our home page. I've already gone over the materials here for you. I'm just going to quickly click on it to remind you that in this area here under course materials, not only did I go over the textbook and all of that, but here's the syllabus, which hopefully you've already have in front of you, and the video that you're watching right now. All the information about the textbook and everything is right here for you. Okay, I'm going to talk a little bit about narrated lessons and PowerPoint slides in a second and resources. Okay, all right, so let's go back to the home page. So that's step number 1. I've got my course materials. You need to have working technology, which has already been mentioned. I've talked about class policies and campus resources, so that page in the syllabus is actually here for you. And then, as I mentioned, we're going to be using modules. So each week, remember how the syllabus is laid out like this? Okay, you see each week here? So each week breaks down into a module. So let's go to that week number 4 that we were looking at, okay? So I'm just going to click on here. I'm sorry, week number 4 is right here. Okay. So it's going to take me right straight to week number 4. All right, so again, I would check to make sure in the syllabus that I'm working on the right week by looking at the date. Again, if you're taking this in the spring, the date's going to look a little different. Okay. All right. So I need to complete a case to consider, which is one of my assignments. I need to complete a discussion board, which is one of my assignments. I have my narrated lesson. Now, when each chapter has a narrated lesson. Some of the chapters are a little bit longer in terms of their amount of content, so I broke them up into two parts. So, for example, chapter 14, you would watch part one first and part two. So these narrated lessons are YouTube videos. So they are accessible. So if you have a hearing impairment, you can use the option of closed captioning. If you have a visual impairment, the video is very clear and the narration is very clear in each of these videos. So you would watch these and take notes. And basically, it's almost like direct teaching that you would get if you were in a face-to-face course or an in-person class in a classroom environment. So again, it's very important that you do watch those. Okay. Now, each narrated lesson has a PowerPoint slide that's attached to it. Some people like those PowerPoint slides in front of them to take notes on. So if you want, you could download it and print out, or have it in front of you, maybe in a different device, and follow along. Now there will be sometimes videos attached, but I did not attach them to the narrated YouTube videos simply because links get broken often, as we know. And so I didn't want to have to redo a whole YouTube video because one video doesn't work. So in order to access the videos, you would need to open up the PowerPoint slide. They are all in there for you, and you would just need to click on them from there. But you'll hear me say in the narrated lessons, okay, I'd like you to, pause the narration and watch a video. So that just means you need to stop the YouTube video and go into the PowerPoint and click on the video there, and that's how you're going to watch it. Okay. Now, as mentioned, you have resources. So here are the resources to prepare you for that assignment, that research worksheet that would be due the following week. And then you have your quiz down here. Okay, so all the modules are laid out the same way. As we look at, let's say, week number 5 here, which we're going to be working on chapter 2, your research worksheet is due. That's where you would upload it. This is how to upload it into the assignment. Then you've got your case, your discussion board, your narrated lesson broken up, your PowerPoints to follow along with, and then your quiz. So that is essentially the course layout. That's how it's going to work in this course. So again, all assignments will be due on Thursdays at 11:59 p.m. Quizzes are due at the end of the session, at the end of the semester. You can choose to, do your quizzes now, or you can do the quizzes later in the semester and use them for the final exam. Okay, so that is how essentially this course is going to be laid out. All right, so just remember those deadlines and those due dates. But there's also the calendar feature, which I'll go over when I talk about time management. All right, so let's now talk about those assignments and the resources that are available. So I'm going to go back into the syllabus and just briefly talk about the major assignments in this class. All right, so you've got quizzes that are going to be due at the end of the semester or the session. You can see that right here that's highlighted for you. All right, the chapter quizzes, you have 2 attempts. So there's usually 10 questions and you get 20 minutes, okay? After the first attempt, you will then be able to see the correct answers. And the reason I do that is for you to do a self-check. Being in an online class, I'm not going to be able to provide you with repetition, reiteration, those things that often we do in a face-to-face course. So it's going to be really important that you do that on your own. So that's why the quizzes are set up that way. So you'll get your first attempt, you'll take a look at what answers you got correct, and then you'll look at the answers you got incorrect. It's really important to go back and study those incorrect answers, and then using the correct answers, you can retake the quiz, and you should be getting a 10 out of 10. Now, quizzes are considered a low stakes assessment, 5% of the final grade, but it's still 5%. Okay. So you can, keep up with your quizzes. Some students like to do quizzes right after they read a chapter. Just to quiz themselves, literally. Some students have chosen to wait until the end of the session to take quizzes to study for the final exam. So whatever way you decide to do it, it's up to you. The quizzes will show up as being due, and you'll start accruing zeros if you don't take them. But rest assured, when you do decide to take them, the zeros will go away, and whatever score you get gets entered. Okay, so don't start, feeling anxious if you see zeros in your grade book. All right, just understand that once you take the quiz, your grade will be adjusted. All right, so that's chapter quizzes, and those are open book. All right, there is only one exam in this class, just one. There's no midterm, okay? But there is a cumulative final exam that's going to be online. It is in two parts, all right? There's a multiple choice section for 40 multiple choice questions, and then there's going to be a short answer. So basically, part one is multiple choice, 40 questions. Part two is short answer. There's going to be 12, and you're going to choose 6, okay? Now, there is already a study guide and there's already study questions available for you. And there's going to be an announcement that goes out about how to study for the exam throughout the semester. So you can start studying for this, basically the very first week of class. Now, it is worth 20% of the final grade and it's closed book. So it's really important that you do prepare for it because it is an assignment that carries the most weight in this class. All right, now, since this is an online class, we don't have the luxury of, talking to one another. And talking to one another in a class is very important. Learning together is very important. That is actually something we're going to talk about in this class. So we will try to learn together through a discussion board learning activity assignment. So most weeks you're going to have a discussion board due. Not every week, but most of the weeks, pretty much almost every single one except for when you've got your teaching demo and final exam, okay? All right, so how it works is you're going to be providing 2 posts, okay? The first post is your response to the discussion board learning activity. Your second post is your response to a peer's response. Basically, feedback. Maybe they kind of came up with the same idea that you did. Maybe it was different and you want to discuss that difference. Be kind. It's not constructive criticism. It's just, responding to somebody's response. All right. So the way it's scored is out of 1 or 0. Either you completed 2 posts or you didn't. Now, let's say you completed your first response and you didn't complete the second response, then it would be a 0.5 out of 1, okay? But if you don't do it, it's a 0, all right? So again, this assignment will be due on Thursdays at 11:59 p.m. Now, discussion boards, as we talked about, the dates and times of when they're due is in the schedule, but here's an important thing. Sometimes things happen, I get it. So every student is granted 1 makeup board for 1 missed board, and these are worth 10% of the final grade. All right, the next assignment that you'll have for most chapters, not all, is something called a case to consider. Now, in the biography, if you look at the biography and you look at my background, I was a school psychologist in New York City Department of Education for over a decade before we decided to move to New Jersey. So in over 10 years of experience, I'm actually now into my 24th year of being an educator. And through all these years, I have actually, encountered a lot of very interesting cases. I have a lot of stories to tell. So I use those cases actually to help students to start to use content and concepts and theories that we're learning about to better understand how they come to life in the field. So, like I said, most chapters, not all, there'll be a case to consider, basically a real life case. And what you're going to do is you're going to read the chapter. You're going to take notes. You're going to look at the PowerPoint slides. You're going to listen to the narrated lessons. And then you're going to take the case. The case is open book, so you can have everything in front of you when you take it. So basically, the case will be in like a paragraph, like a dilemma. And then there'll be several questions that you have to answer about that particular dilemma using what you've learned. Now, if you don't prepare for the case and it's timed, you only get 20 minutes. If you don't prepare for the case, you're not going to do well. You're going to be completely lost. So it's really important that you read, you prepare, and you get ready to use what you've just learned to try to solve a real case. And since everyone wants to be an educator or go into an education related field, these cases are going to be very relevant to what you will encounter in your future careers. So again, you want to be prepared for it. So again, cases are due Thursdays, 11:59 p.m. on their assigned date and time, as we know, and every student is granted 1 makeup case for 1 missed case. Okay, and these are worth 10% of the final grade. All right, now let's talk about the major project in this class. And the major project has several parts to it, as you can see in front of you. Okay. All right, so you're going to be assigned an educational psychology topic, and you'll get to choose, and then I'll of your choices, I'll assign you one of them. Okay. So, what you're going to do is you're going to research that topic. And these are ed psych topics that I actually do not go into a lot of detail on because the way I like to do this course is I teach you for the majority of the weeks. And then beginning like week 12 or around that time, week 13, students take over and you guys then do the teaching. So that's the way this course is actually organized. Because remember, learning objective. You are creating and implementing a lesson plan using a teaching demonstration format. So you'll be assigned a topic and you're going to research it. In order to help you to research it and to better understand the articles that you're getting, which is your research, you're going to complete a research worksheet. Now, if you took Psych 123 at Middlesex, which is Intro Psych, you've already done a research worksheet, meaning you already know what this is. You all had to do that common assignment. So you're going to be doing a research worksheet for one of those articles, okay? Then you're going to take your 3 articles that you find and you're going to write a paper on them. Again, it's only a 5-page paper with a reference page and a title page. So it's a pretty simple, straightforward paper about the most important information from those 3 articles. Then you'll start working in your groups on the lesson plan. So you're going to work with other students who are assigned the same topic. So the first part of the semester, you're not really going to worry about them. You're going to be building your own knowledge first because you can't really get together and talk if you don't know what you're talking about. So you're going to do that first by your research worksheet and your research review or literature review paper. Then you're going to get with your group and you're going to develop a lesson plan. You're going to decide, what do you think the rest of the class needs to know about your topic? What are the most important things, since they most likely want to be a teacher or a school psychologist or a guidance counselor? What do you think they need to know about your topic? So you're going to develop a lesson plan. And then that lesson plan then helps guide your teaching demonstration, which you'll create in either Zoom or FaceTime. So I'm going to show you some resources in a few minutes. But so you'll be working individually first in these two assignments. And then lesson plan teaching demo, you'll do those together in a group. You will have to collaborate. You'll have to get together on Zoom. So again, I'll be showing you how to do that. You'll have to talk to them or call them up or FaceTime or whatever you want to do. If you can socially distance and meet up, that's fine too. Whatever you want to do, whatever you feel comfortable with, is going to be up to you and your group members. Okay. So you'll create your lesson plan and then you're going to teach it. It's going to be a pre-recorded, not live, but pre-recorded teaching demonstration. And then we will all view each other's teaching demos and hopefully learn something more about topics that I don't cover in this class. Okay, there's a lot of topics. That's why we do this. So here it breaks down the different parts of this project. So here's the teaching. So here's that individual approach. Like I said, you're going to do your research worksheet. You're going to write your paper, which is 5 pages plus a title and reference. That's what makes the 7. The research paper is required to continue on into the lesson plan and teaching demo. So if you don't hand it in at that time, we'll have to talk about next steps for you in the course. And then you're going to create your cooperative group approach, your teaching demo in Zoom, as I mentioned. And then again, don't worry so much about all these parts because these will be broken down throughout the semester for you. Okay. All right. So that's pretty much the layout of, the class and those assignments. I'm now going to show you just really quickly. I want to point out like kind of when these things are due. So you can see the highlighted parts of these major assignments. Those weekly assignments are pretty consistent every week, like the case, the discussion board, the quiz. Now, again, you can complete the quizzes at the end if you want. Okay. But then here and there during certain weeks, certain things will be due. So you can see those first couple weeks when your research worksheets due, when your paper is due. Then you'll start working together. Then you've got your lesson plan due for your group. Then you'll start creating your teaching demo, and then this is when it's due, and then the final. Okay. Now the grading rubrics are all in here too, which I'll show you, but here's those 10 topics. And again, you'll be prompted by the modules to decide which 5 you want to do. Again, you're only going to be assigned 1. Here's the grading rubric for the lesson plan. Here's the grading rubric for the paper. Here's the grading rubric for your teaching demo, and then your grading rubric for your research worksheets. And I also include a grading rubric for the cases. The quizzes is obviously multiple choice. It's either right or wrong. Okay. All right. So let's go back now into Canvas and let's take a look at some of those resources I was mentioning to you. So every major assignment, the research worksheet, researching, your topic, the paper, the lesson plan, the teaching demo, they all have a page. So they are embedded in the module, but you can also find them under pages over here. So it's easier just to follow the modules. But again, if maybe you just want a quick reference, those major resources are here. So let's say you're working on your literature review, the research paper. Here's your resources right here for you. Talks about what's going on, how to do it. Here's a video to help you. Here's another video, how to do APA citations, because I know that can be difficult. How do you upload your documents, because you're going to be uploading multiple documents. So every page has a resource. So it's really important, if you want to be successful in this class, that you utilize the resources, that you take the time and you go through these things. I know it might seem overwhelming, but once you look at these things, the assignments become crystal clear. So it's really important that you take the time and you use the resources. So again, they're embedded in the modules, but they also can be found under pages. Now there's also files here, so you can go to certain files if you want. So let's say you just really quickly want to find a PowerPoint slide to follow along with. Maybe you don't feel like going into modules even though it's there. You can click on this folder and that'll take you to it. There's a couple research articles, especially the Weinstein article, which is something we're going to be reading about in terms of multicultural education and ethnocentrism. Articles are here, but they're also embedded inside the modules. So again, resources are here too, those printable resources, the syllabus is here, that sort of thing. But you can find all of these embedded in either the page or in the module. Okay, so the modules were all on the home page, but they're also here as well. So again, you just pick, figure out which week you're working on, and then you go and you find your module. Okay. Now for the cases to consider, let me just show you kind of what those will look like. So we actually don't start our first case until week number 4. So, but once you do, I kind of like to ease students in. We start with like really light at the beginning with assignments, and then we will start more of a consistent routine, which is, having that case, having that discussion board, having a quiz. You don't have to do the quiz, and then until the end of the semester, that is. And then here and there you have those major assignments. But I wanted to show you kind of what a case is. So as you can see, you need to be prepared. We've already talked about that. You've got 20 minutes and they're open book. Okay. So once you hit you'll hit take the quiz. I'm obviously in the instructor mode, but then you see the quiz like that. You've got your questions here, and then you actually just write your answers here. And I will ask simply that you number your questions so that I know which question you're referring to. If you just kind of throw it all together like in a paragraph, that could be a little bit more difficult for me. Okay. But just, number your answers and go for it. But be prepared. And then when you're done, hit submit quiz. At the 20-minute mark, it will time you out, just so you know. So just be careful with that. Grades in gradebook, I put everything in. So every Friday I'll be working on the grades since everything's due, Thursday at 11:59. And no, I'm not putting in grades at midnight, but I'll put them in the next day. So check your grades. Also with our discussion boards, as I mentioned, are embedded in the modules, but maybe you just want to get to one really quickly. They're all here in discussion boards. So with discussion boards, as mentioned, I'm just going to open up one randomly. You'll have your directions here about what you're supposed to do, and then you just click reply right here, and then that's going to allow you to write your answer in. And then you have to post first before you can see anybody else's post. And that's important because I want to read what you're thinking first, not what you read and then think after you've read other people's stuff. Okay. It also maintains academic integrity. So you'll go ahead and you'll write out your stuff here, you'll hit post reply, okay? If you want to attach something, you can attach it here, and then this will just take you straight to your computer so you can attach files. All right, I'm just going to hit cancel to get out of here. And then once you post, you'll be able to then to see your peers post. So your job then for your second post is just to briefly read over your peers' information and then just choose one peer to respond to. You do not have to respond to all 30 peers or however many students are in the in the class. You just respond to one peer, but each board requires 2 responses. Okay, so again, those are embedded in the modules, or you can find them in discussions. For your quizzes, again, those are embedded in the modules, or you can find them under the quiz. Also, the cases are also under the quizzes too, just so you know. They'll be listed as practice quizzes, so you can access them either way. Now, the cases, as mentioned, will close at 11:59 on Thursdays, as will the discussion boards. So it's important that you that you decide to get ahead and get these done before the due date. The final exam will also be online. So as I mentioned, you have a multiple choice and you have a short answer. The final is not available until the last week of class, whereas everything else is available on September 1st. If you're taking this in the spring, it's available a week before classes start. So again, if you're taking this in the fall or a future fall semester, it's 1 week before the semester starts. So you can go ahead and get ahead, which I'm going to talk about with time management in a second. Okay, so I do use announcements as well. So I'll talk about a little bit what announcements will be coming your way. So obviously you've already gotten a few announcements about welcoming you to the class, that sort of thing. If something changes or something's not working, I might shoot out an announcement. So it's important to read every single announcement that comes your way. Now, there will be an announcement for some of the discussion boards, not all. So, just because I'm not really guiding you with them, I'm wanting you to kind of get out there and throw out your ideas first. But on Friday, after the discussion board closes, remember, discussion boards are due Thursdays at 11:59 p.m. On Friday, there'll be a follow-up. Most of the follow-up for the discussion boards will be a video. So it's really important that you watch the video, because I'm going to explain the discussion board. I'm going to explain important concepts that further help you to understand and learn the EdPsych content. Okay, so you can see here they're already ready to go. They'll come out on whatever day that they've been attached to that board, but there'll be a summary for some of the discussion boards. Okay, I want to talk about time management. So I'm actually going to go right into the announcement that came out for you guys. Okay, so let's talk about time management. So first, you got to get your course materials. So you do need to have the textbook or e-text before classes start, simply because you're going to need the textbook for the class. You're going to need it to help you to understand the concepts. I do go over them in that narrated lesson, for each chapter, but you're going to need the textbook because, again, this is a higher level course. It is not going to be an easy course, but it can be made a lot easier if you just prepare and you understand the content. So make sure you have your course materials before classes start. As I've already shown you, you're going to use those modules and the syllabus course outline to help you to know what is due and when it's due. Now, here is the great thing about an online class. Since we don't meet at a specific date and time, you can get ahead. Everything is open as of a week before classes start. So that means if you want to start getting ahead, you can. You just have to make sure you have completed everything by Thursday at 11:59 p.m. So cases, you can get ahead. Discussion boards, you can get ahead. Quizzes, you can get ahead, or you can wait until the end of the session. For all those other assignments, for the research worksheet, for the paper, you can get ahead. You do not have to wait until Thursday at 11:59. Now, if you are waiting until Thursday at 11:59, then I am most likely going to probably email you, because procrastination is not going to work in this class. I'm just going to be completely transparent. It's also not a characteristic of a future educator. So you really need to get ahead, find time during the week, well before Thursday, because we all know things come up, things happen. Okay. We don't want to leave no room for error and be, kind of left without being able to do something. We also don't want to rush through things to get it done because when you rush through things, you're not learning about them. So it's really important that you look at your schedule, you get ahead, and you don't wait until Thursday at 11:59 p.m. Okay. Now, you got to make time for this course. So review that syllabus. As I said, many times, I haven't said it, I'm sorry yet, but this is not an independent study. So meaning that you can't just kind of do things, at your own pace in a sense and not follow the deadlines. You can get ahead. Throughout each week, you can decide when you want to take the case, when you want to do the discussion board, when you want to hand in the research worksheet or the paper or whatever. But by Thursday at 11:59, there are certain things that are going to be due. So again, review the syllabus and decide how you're going to plan out this course. This is a very important course. It is not something that can be rushed through. If you're going to go on into education or education related field, these theories are going to be absolutely important for you, which then leads me down to tip number 5. So this course is designed for preparing students who are in education or education related careers. I know I sound like a broken record, but I have unfortunately over the years, I've taught this class long enough. I think I'm up to my 27th semester now. I have had students that have chosen this course as a free elective, not realizing what it entails. I would hate to see you not start your semester with a good schedule and courses you're interested in. So please make sure that you are ready for this course. If you decide to take the course, make sure that you are ready for a high level of engagement. You've got to be organized, you've got to be prepared, and you've got to be committed. All of these are essential characteristics of future educators. And I also, I like to set the stage that way because I'm preparing teachers to be teachers. I'm preparing pre-service teachers to be teachers. So it's really important that you're ready to take the course. And then have fun. You're going to learn a lot of information in this class. These are the important theories that you're going to need when you take your methods. You're going to better understand how you learn. I mean, I don't know if you've ever kind of taken a step back and asked yourself, how do I learn? But you're going to learn how to learn in this class. So I hope that you take away a lot of valuable information, things that are going to really help you. One last thing, too, about the textbook or the e-text. I don't suggest that you rent the book simply because you're going to need this textbook for future courses. And when you go on to do student teaching, you're going to need the textbook for the EdTPA, which is going to measure your pedagogical content skills, basically your ability to teach and why you did certain things. The why is going to come from theories that you learn in this class. So it's really important to keep the textbook, keep it handy. Don't get rid of it. I know it's always great at the end of the semester to get some money back, but please keep the text if you are going to pursue education or an education related field. I was a school psychologist. I still have my Ed Psych textbook to this day. And as a school psychologist, I used Ed Psych all the time, and I used my textbook. It used to sit on my desk. So, please don't, rent the textbook if you can try to avoid that at all costs. All right, so that is pretty much the class in a nutshell. The other thing I just want to point out to you too is the final exam. How I mentioned you should try to go ahead and study throughout the semester. So there's a page for the final exam. And so the final exam is under course assessments. Sorry, where there's so many of them. Here we go. Final exam information. All right. So it tells you when it's due, how it works. Again, if you're taking this in the spring or a future fall, these dates are a little different, but you get the gist. So here's your study guide. You can go ahead and print that out and start filling it out. I also have given you guys some reading comprehension questions for each chapter. That can also help you study. This won't necessarily be on the test, but if you can answer these questions, you're in good shape. What's on the study guide will be tested. So I do suggest you start studying from week number 1. Once you finish a chapter, fill out your study guide. I won't be having like a study session in the class, so it's important that you can prepare for the exam independently and be ready to take it on your own. All right, so if you have questions, what should you do? Well, let me scroll down here. Number 5, you can email me. Okay, you can make an appointment via Zoom with me, and you can email me. Also, there is a questions board. So under discussions, you can go to the questions board. Okay, and you can put your question here. This is a for everybody to see. So let's say you notice there's a question there, and maybe you have the answer. Then go ahead and answer your peer. I'm not always going to be able to answer students, within seconds. So if you have the answer, feel free to help one another out. The only thing I ask is please don't ask personal questions on the board because everybody can see it. So personal questions, you can email me at my address there. You can also email me in Canvas too. You guys can use the email feature. All right, so I very much look forward to working with everybody this semester. I'm really excited to teach you about Ed Psych. So I think you're going to come away with a lot of important information. So again, be ready to go. Give this class the time it needs. And if you use the resources and you give it your attention and your time and your effort, then you will be very successful in this class. I look forward to working with everybody over the semester.